for connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is reframing. Reframing is originally from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and it's an awesome tool and technique to create transformation. So today we're going to dig in a bit with reframing and explore what it is, what its power is, and how we can utilize it to create transformation, adding it to our transformational toolbox. But good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. Great to have you here with us this morning, and great to be here with everybody. Before we get started with reframing, let's take a couple minutes to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub those hands together. Feel that friction, the tension, the pressure, the sensation, all that tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to be here with you. So today we're talking about reframe. And reframe is such a powerful, powerful tool. And we do it in a lot of instances without even being aware. Good morning, Jenny. Without ever being aware that we're doing it. We're talking about reframing today. So an example, a really common example is the glass half full, half empty, or half full, right? So maybe I'm feeling like the glass is half empty. I can reframe that to it's half full. The thing is that when I do that reframe, there's a different experience of the glass. Oh, that's a good one too, Rosalind. I love that. So Rosalind talks about changing I have to I get to. And there's even another one that we can go a step further, is from I get to go to I am blessed to. And that opens up even another dimension of experience. And Jenny says both. The glass is half full and half empty, or neither. The glass just has X amount of liquid in it, right? There's all of the above. So that actually goes to the point that our perception shapes our experience, and reframe is all about using a deliberate approach to be shaping our experience in a conscious and deliberate way. So I talked about this in my every week in my coaching program. We have a weekly meeting, that's like a half hour long, and once a month it's an hour. And I'm actually excited. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a spoon bending workshop to bend spoons and to learn, really get concrete physical confirmation of our ability to shape our reality. So I'm very excited about that. But before that, so yesterday we talked about reframing, because one of the things that I'm trying to do with my practice and also with you is to be providing tools of transformation, tools that assist us in optimizing our experience, whatever that looks like, right? So one of the things that we were looking at is trauma. And trauma is something that we all experience to different degrees, but it particularly when we are able to integrate that trauma, to heal from that trauma, it provides us with trauma provides us with the potential for a profound depth of wisdom and experience. So in the midst of it, that's a whole different thing, you know, because we're kind of swept into it. When we are able to move beyond it, we can use it as a teacher. So this is a reframe from being a victim, you know, from being victimized to being empowered. And so our trauma can leave us victimized or in our moving beyond it, it can leave us empowered. Wow, Jenny says, I want to sue an ER doc for the trauma he caused with restraints and sedation. That sounds like a very intense experience, Jenny. And Jenny, it sounds like you've had a lot of trauma, a lot of challenges, and my heart goes out to you for what you've experienced. And we'll get back to this in, yeah, it sounds like it was absolutely horrible. Rosalind says, I'm the discomfort. What is actually felt versus what our memories are programmed responses to a last event. And Rosalind says, is the discomfort there all the time? Okay, so that actually brings up a situation that I've been trying to, that I've been working with a client around, where their assertion is that they are always anxious and afraid. And I actually had them do an exercise where they would check in, you know, multiple times throughout the day to see what was their experience. Were they feeling anxious and afraid? Or, you know, how were they feeling? And what they discovered is that no, they weren't feeling anxious and afraid all the time. That there were, but there wasn't enough of a reframe to be able to say, sometimes I feel anxious and afraid, you know, or I often feel anxious and afraid, rather than I always feel anxious and afraid. So then we also started recognizing that there's a experience, physiological experience of the energy and the movement of energy, and that movement of energy was being interpreted as anxiety. And so a reframe is maybe it's energy that's being released that has been pent up for all this time as you're making a transformation. That's a reframe. That's a really powerful reframe, because they could actually entertain, you know what, that makes sense. That could be the case. Maybe it's not anxiety. And maybe I get to rename it. And in renaming it, it's creating a new context for it. So back to this notion of trauma. So here was an experience that someone I know had relating to their experience of a parent being sort of a malevolent force. You know, as a child, they got very frightened by this parent, and the fear of this parent really dominated their experience in many, many ways. And so the reframe was that instead of this kind of almost demonic fear-inducing presence, they were able to recognize that their parent was just inept, you know, that they just didn't know how to parent, and that it wasn't a reflection of them where the parent got angry. It was a reflection of the parent's inadequacy. And so I don't know that this is going to help at all, Jenny, in your situation, and I don't know the circumstances. However, my thinking that if we imagined that an ER doctor has the best intentions to protect you and your welfare, although it may have been severely misguided or not, I don't know, that the intention wasn't to hurt, but to perhaps stop you from hurting yourself or others. And it's another perspective. That's what a reframe is. So in this case, with the person and their parent, they were able to let go of the fear because they had more compassion. They were able to understand what was going on. And by the way, Jenny, I'm not saying that it wasn't a case of malpractice or anything like that, because I don't know. You know, I certainly don't know. But we often, when we feel harmed, when we are harmed, I'm not also saying that you weren't, when we are harmed, we often attribute malicious intent to the other when it may or may not be there. And that's neither here nor there to say whether you have a legitimate suit or not. You know, like I said, I don't know. And so then getting back to Rosalind, what you were saying is the discomfort there all the time. I'm going to venture to say, no, it can't possibly be. The discomfort can't be there all the time. Good morning, Bernadette. Welcome. Great to have you here with us this morning. So I'm here to say that the discomfort can't be there all the time, because what is it that makes the discomfort there? It's our awareness of it, right? And we're not ever aware of one thing all the time. So I guess the question is the discomfort there if we're not aware of it? You know, like we want to create some kind of continuity in our awareness because it gives us some sense of safety to say, okay, well, I am always this, that, or the other thing, but it's actually not true, because we are not static. We are a living being. We are always in a dynamic of change, always. So it may be that there's a predominant sense of discomfort, or whenever there's a checking in, we're checking in is so here's another thing. Where is the discomfort? Oh, okay, I'm going to find it, versus what am I feeling right now? You know, or is the discomfort actually there right now, instead of where is it? Because when we ask where is it, we go look for it. Jenny says, I was septic and the doctor came to me to move my mask above my nose aggressively. In self-defense, I swiped his hand away, and he grabbed my arm, squeezing painfully. I somehow scratched his hand. Oh boy, and he pressed assault charges on me when he grabbed and hurt me. Oh my gosh, Jenny, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. It just sounds like a calamity of errors, like one thing on top of another. Yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that. So, and I wonder if you get to press a counter assault charge, even though I hate the whole thought of all of that. Yeah, and I'm not an attorney, so I have no legal advice for that. Anyway, again, I'm just sorry you're going through that, or did go through that. Kimberly, welcome. Great to have you here with us this morning. So we're talking about the power of reframe. And so one of the really powerful reframes that I was witness to with one of my clients was having experienced so much trauma in their lives, feeling broken, feeling that their darkness was a deficit, and this darkness was from having experienced all this trauma, and the deep sadness and the emotions that are not easy to experience, the unpleasant emotions of depression, grief, sadness, that they saw this as a deficit. And here's a reframe that's actually powerful and true, is that all of that experience enabled this person then to be present for other people's dark times of the soul. So this is the case for me too. The deep emotional trauma that I've experienced has, now that I'm not in the midst of it, has enabled me to be able to be present with other people that that are going through difficult stuff. And had I not gone through that trauma, it's that trauma that has given me my capabilities, has given me the capacity that I have to be able to be present with others that are experiencing really challenging stuff. So Jenny says it can also be related to attachment disorder. Well, I'm out of that game because I'm not qualified to make any kind of diagnosis of anything. So, and if that label is helpful, great. I don't really even know what attachment disorder is, but use the label if it's beneficial. If it isn't, don't get stuck there. We tend to like to label things so that we can make our world comprehensible. And oftentimes we create these boxes and labels that I know people who have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder or schizoid, whatever, these all different kinds of disorders, which then gave medical people license to deeply over medicate them, that in a way that created the the condition that they were supposedly being treated for, and just really some awful things around these diagnostics. So I would recommend getting multiple opinions, and also finding ways, if you have these diagnoses, finding ways to use them in a positive way, or a way that serves your betterment, rather than something that solidifies an impediment, rather than something that, if it's freeing, if it's helpful, great. That's all. Jenny says, how you bond with your caregiver or lack of. Thank you. So attachment disorder. Well, and childhood trauma, abuse, or neglect. Okay, I got it, Jenny. So not being able to connect with people on a deeper level due to trauma. I get it. But I guess naming it as a disorder makes it seem like it's a forever and always thing, like it's an identity instead of a beingness. And I have seen people yesterday. This was amazing. This was so wonderful. So I have one client that I've been working with who's remarkable, and well, they're all remarkable. But anyway, when we first started early on, they said that the thing that was most predominant in their lives was fear. Like, it was pervasive in every moment. Again, obviously not every moment, but their experience was that it was pervasive in every moment, and that it was the undercurrent of every experience. And we did a session, and the fear went away, like really, really, truly went away. And then yesterday we did another session, and this was about shame that they thought was particular to a relationship that they had had. And as we started, and they said that they had done lots and lots and lots of work on this, and it just wouldn't go away, and they were ready now to release it, which they were. Because when somebody brings something like that to a session, I get all excited, because it's like, oh, I know we can do that. So we did the session, and actually what I do in the beginning of a session is I calibrate the emotions. And we as they were relaying all these different emotions, it occurred to me that it was exactly the same dynamic that they had with a parent. And I said something about that, and it kind of blew their mind. And we did the session, and the shame was gone. The shame was gone. And then they said, I was looking back through my notes about our previous sessions, and I came across the session that we did about fear, and I had completely forgotten about it. Now, this is amazing. This is an amazing phenomenon that, and this is why in the work that I do with people, I encourage them to keep a breakthrough journal so they can see from whence they've come, because we don't recognize our changes. And she had forgotten, like, this was a lifelong pattern. This person forgot that they had been so fearful. Now, how miraculous is that? Where they spent their whole life living in fear, and it was gone. And not only was it gone, but they forgot that they had been so dominated by fear. And this shame thing had been pervasive for a long time. Now it's gone. And the question that I loved was, here are certain behaviors that I don't like. And I'm wondering, as I heal these other things, will that behavior shift? And the answer is yes. because our behavior is a function of our interpretations of the world. So if I see the world as threatening and dangerous, I'm going to respond defensively to my circumstances, right? And I might be responding offensively, to go on the offense so that I can protect myself from a perceived threat, because I'm afraid all the time. Like a frightened animal is a scary thing to play with, because a frightened animal will bite. It may be a very, very sweet animal, but it will bite. If we can release that fear, it'll bite because it's threatened, right? It's protecting itself. If it's not fearful, it's not going to bite, right? So Jenny says, mine is abandonment. I had massive abandonment issues, Jenny, for most of my life. So I know what that's like too. And again, it's a discipline, it's a challenge to find our way to self-acceptance, self-compassion, and self-love. And that's the path that I think you're on, Jenny, and so much of us. And Jenny says, hurt people bite too. That was why I was talking about the animals, for sure. And Kimberly says, beautiful, powerful. Rosalind says, change in belief and the world changes. Absolutely, 100%. When we shift our beliefs or our perceptions, the whole world changes, because we project our experience outward. A changed belief, says Rosalind, is still a belief. Instead, look deeply to discover what is true. So I talked to you about, that's my working hypothesis, because I don't believe that our beliefs are true. Our beliefs are reflections. They're constructs. They're constructs. And when it comes to being able to be present to truth with a capital T, my hypothesis is that the only time we come close to accessing that is when we're in a transcendent state. But that's my hypothesis, not telling you that that's the way it is, but try it on. I don't believe that we operate in a world that's reality with a capital R. I believe that we live in a world of our own projection. At least, again, that's my working hypothesis. So, darlings, this was powerful. Please know that there is profound power available to you in Reframe, and to be looking at how we experience our experience and how we can shift it by thinking about it from a different context. And it does create a profound shift. It is a way that we can shift our beliefs. And Kimberly says, I'm alive, alert, enthusiastic. This helps me change my mindset when things want to pull me down. Beautiful, Kimberly. Thank you for sharing that, and love, love, love to you too. And to all of you who have joined us and engage in these conversations, it's such a privilege, really, truly, to be with you. And until next time, I'm Mira Rubin. Here, this is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN, One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And I hope to see you back here tomorrow. Lots and lots of love.